Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Rock for Him podcast. I'm Jeremy, aka the Big Boy, and with me is my good buddy, my co host, Mr. Sandshoes Bukowski. How's it going, Jay?
I tell you what, I am so happy to be back in this seat and having the new Rock for Him studios here. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just glad to be back. Like it's been a long last couple
And,
weeks. I have missed doing this. So,
and you were definitely missed. Well, we got a brand new artist with us tonight. This is a second podcast ever. This is Mr. Trevor Tyson of the band Heal the Hurt. How's it going, man?
Doing great. Glad to be here. I'm just kind of blown away that his studio is so much nicer than my little corner in my living room. It's quite the setup you got there, buddy.
trust me, if I were to take the background down, this is my wife's office that I'm in, and
Yeah,
it's just surrounded in stuff right now. So I'm like, hey, I need a background.
there you go. Well, looks good.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and about the band and how you guys got started and all that.
So I am a veteran podcast host, I guess you could say. For the past 4 years, I've had the privilege of leading a talk show called Trevor Talks, and I just started it during the pandemic when tours got shut down, and I didn't really expect it to be a thing, but it lasted far beyond the pandemic and such. And yeah, like that that's a time of my life that I'll always cherish. And the people I got to connect with, got to interview a lot of my heroes and learn from all these songwriters and musicians, authors, hear their stories and how they've come up. And I would say that God used that in a way to inspire me to be able to take the leap
Mm.
and jump into the artistry myself. Um, we did a lot of episodes of that show, and honestly, I'm just grateful for the platform that God blessed us with. I was able to start a media agency off of it.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, like I love podcasting. This is my second interview for this band, and that's a little bit about myself.
So I know you said you were doing podcasting and you've got other things going on, but how did you get the band going? What made you one day just sit down and go, you know what? I'm gonna make some awesome music
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do it like right now. How
Hmm.
did that happen?
So I have been through a lot of mental health struggles in my life, just like it feels like everybody does nowadays. But I've always loved metalcore, and it's always been a very comforting genre for me, which may sound funny because it's so aggressive, but it brings me so much peace and happiness and just pure joy. And out of the love for metalcore, I would say I had always had an admiration for the people that were doing it, a love for the music. I'd always felt like there was a piece of me in it, but I didn't know what that was. I wasn't aware that I could sing or make songs on my own until I was 25 years old. So last year, um, we had just done this event called Choose to Live with Heart Support. And 2 days after that, after I think we had like 50,000 people live stream it, I found myself mentally, physically, and emotionally just drained. Like I had nothing left. I didn't want to be alive.
Mm.
2 days after, I ended up in the ER, and they pumped me full of IVs and gave me a talk about being a workaholic and all of the not taking care of myself. I think I weighed in at like 105 pounds. So I was just a broken mess. And when I was laying in that hospital bed, I was there with a very close friend of mine, a spiritual parent, I would say Tina. And I just kind of said in my head, I've done everything in my own power, and this is exactly where it led me. And I've known where it was going to lead me. I was just too scared to make a change, or, you know, I had worked so hard on building this brand and this persona that I was afraid to let it go. I
Mm.
felt like it was a piece of me, but I admitted that I had done everything in my own strength and was like, God, I need you to take over because I can't do this anymore. Like it was rock bottom for me. I can't continue to do this. So it didn't happen immediately, but within, I would say, 6 months of that moment, I had this vision for a band called Heal the Hurt. And I was wrestling around with the name because I didn't want it to sound like too Christcore or like turn people off from a cheesy name that you find a lot in the Christian rock space. So I was like, I need confirmation. So I was listening to the song, I think Awakening by Amanda Cook, and there's a line in it that's Heal the Hurt. And it was the exact name that I felt like we were supposed to do.
Mm.
So I believe we started working on this project. By we, I mean I called a close friend of mine, Josh, and was like, "Hey, dude, I want to start something. I don't know what that looks like. I don't have a band or anything. Would you like write for us?" And he's like, "Yeah, but kids like own music career didn't really pan out. I just needed somebody to say that they believed in me." And so from there, I started going to friends that I had made along this journey and started working on this project. And Withering in particular is about that whole process that I went through. And it's a very vulnerable and honest video. Like it was kind of, when I saw it for the first time, I was kind of like relieved to a sense that the darkest part of me was like there. You could actually see it. But at the same time, it was like, I can't leave people without hope. So in the song Withering, at the end of the breakdown, it says, "The sun seems further while the shadows paint the room. I remember the night before the hospital. I was puking all night. Like I was just violently vomiting. And it lasted for hours of panic attacks and just pure misery. And I remember looking up at the wall and seeing the tree, like the sun was coming up, so you could see the outline of the tree. Um, that was a very interesting moment for me
Mm.
because I've never been like oh, I saw this and it gave me hope, but I saw that and it gave me hope.
Yeah.
And so through this whole process of writing and working with some very close friends and producers, I never knew I could sing. Like I knew I could scream because I've been doing it in my car for 10 years. I never knew I could sing, like actually. So I was recording with my friend Josh at his studio, and his wife heard me singing, and she's like a amazing vocalist. And she came down, she's like, "No, you need to drop your chin. You're trying to sing up here. You need to sing down here." And from those notes, those are the lines you got in Withering, um, which I wrote with Michael Felker from Convictions, who's just a phenomenal lyricist, a phenomenal vocalist. I kind of feel like I have the Avengers of metal around me. And I hope the music reflects that because I'm not a solo kind of dude. I like to collaborate. Like
Yeah.
I work with multiple people on multiple songs, and being able to collaborate and pull things that were once like my darkest secret. Like I'd always talked about mental health and stuff. I've always been vulnerable about anxiety and depression and stuff. But it's a little bit different when you aren't acting it out and everybody thinks you are. Because I was having panic attacks that whole day for the music video. It's like imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this? Blah, blah, blah. All these lies that were going in my head. That's what you see on camera. I was withering in, what was it, 2022, September 12th or something like that. And I was withering in February of 2024 recording this video.
Mhm.
It's a process of
Yeah.
understanding that while I may never be healed, I know I can be. But if I'm not, I have to be okay with that too. So that's why in the song Withering, I won't be withering for long, and wither with me, wither with me. Like I'm inviting you in to feel this emotion, hoping that you'll understand that there is hope on the end of this.
Yeah.
It may not look like one and done Benny Hinn slap you in the face, or Will Smith or somebody, and you're healed, you know?
Right.
It's not that one moment
Right.
for me anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of people have different experiences. But this whole journey just kind of was birthed out of a pure love for metalcore and music, and working with artists for the past over 10 years. I started volunteering at Winter Jam with Cindy Blankenship in like 2011. That was my intro. And from there, I just kind of networked from like, okay, I'm working merch and now I'm going to connect with this person, this person. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any ulterior motives. I wasn't like, oh, I need to build a career. I was networking and making friends and just doing a good job while I was there, and started getting recommended for odd jobs like um, doing merch, or then eventually finding my voice to become an MC and speak at events, host festivals, and do red carpet and stuff. Ended up promoting a movie on a big tour with Mercy Me, Jeremy Camp, and Crowder. It's like 2 tours. Pandemic shut it down, came home, started Trevor Talks, called a few friends that I'd made along the way, asked them if they'd do an episode. Everything happened with the podcast going up and me withering away and stepping back. I didn't announce a hiatus. I just quit releasing episodes. And ironically, the last episode that came out of Trevor Talks is an episode on burnout. And I was burnt out, and you can tell. I almost took it down, but I love Dr. Sam Kim so much. And you can see it in my face. I was done. But after that interview, I was like, I believe that this guy has a lot of wisdom and value that helped me through this conversation. So I'm going to release it anyway. I didn't know at the time that was going to be the last episode, but it ended up being the last episode. And I know that was like a bunch of different answers to a bunch of different questions, but I just go on these riffs, and hopefully that was good luggage to unpack.
that that was pretty amazing, honestly. And I got to tell you, Jeremy and I are both massive fans of metalcore music. And for me, being an old guy that wears hearing aids, sometimes metalcore is hard to understand. Like the
Sure.
music's fantastic, but the lyrics are hard. With your music, I don't know what it is, but I can understand what you're saying. Like,
Yeah,
was that intentional to do that?
so we are working with one of the best producers on the planet, but he's mixing and mastering our record, or whatever. Um, Throw it out there. We're working with this guy named Ryan Latrue, who used to sing for a band called For Today. And he's just been crushing. It's like I sent him a bunch of different inspirations, like Spirit Box, Architects of Mice and Men, all of these bands that I really liked. And he sent back Withering, and there was a lot of like, I'm not dissing Autotune or anything. There was a lot on there. And I was like, I want to pull it down. And he's like, well, and it's, just making recommendations. And then people around me are like, you should like keep a little more on there. But I stuck with my gut and was like, I don't care if it sounds pitchy with me singing or screaming. Like, I want people to be able to understand it. Like, I've worked really hard on my voice. I want this to be a vocally led project. We don't have like set members yet.
Yeah.
We have Alec, who plays bass and does some other things that will come out in a little bit. And Jarob is just lending us his freaking rock star hair and swinging them sticks in these videos. And if we play shows, I don't know if he's in the protests, so he's got a lot of stuff going on. So we're just kind of playing it by ear right now. And going back to the intentionality behind the being able to understand me, I wanted to make sure that my mom could understand it, and I wanted to make sure that people that are struggling that may not listen to metal could understand it just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's heavy. As we go on, it keeps getting heavier and heavier, but for this song in particular, it wasn't supposed to be the first single. It just kind of felt right to do it We shot the video, and once I saw it and heard the final master, I was like, I want Heal the Hurt to be introduced not with the biggest chorus or the biggest whatever. I want people to feel it, because if they don't feel this and they don't catch what we're throwing out, then what are we doing? Because doing music is not cheap.
Right.
It is not. A lot of bands say that. Like me, first time musician, I've worked around artists. I'm getting great deals, like just based on previous relationships and people believing in the project. It would blow your mind. But
I bet.
and with podcasting, like if you were to hire somebody to professionally edit, that's going to run you like $90 to $150 an episode. That adds up.
For
Music's
sure.
a lot more expensive, but I don't look at it as, oh, all this has been invested. We're not signed to a label. I'm not sure that we're a good fit for a label, honestly, because I listen to critique, but I also don't on certain things. Like I'm willing to die on a hill. Like, oh, your singing might sound a little pitchy. We're gonna release a review from Finn McKenty, who's like does this podcast called the Punk Rock MDA, and he says in his review that the singing is pitchy. At the end of the day, everything's opinionated, right?
Yeah.
And my opinion was, I feel like this is the most vulnerable and honest and personable way this song could come across. So to rally back to the question, yes, it was very intentional. I worked a lot with Mike Felker of Convictions. We're brothers at this point. And I could scream, but I didn't know all the healthy ways to do things. And as we go on, it's like I can do like the really deep, like sounds like somebody's gargling, or like a Viking's about to slice somebody's neck off. And I'm 5'7", 150 pounds. I'm not a big guy, but thankfully I feel like I'm starting to be able to sound like a little bear cub that's learning to growl, and hopefully people enjoy it. I know that this has been the most therapeutic thing in my life ever.
Hmm.
I've been to therapy for years. I've seen psychologists. Suddenly, I'm not sick every 2 weeks. I had COVID over 12, 15 times during the
Wow.
pandemic. I was always sick. And I think a part of that wake up call that we talked about from September 22 was I wasn't living a healthy lifestyle. I wasn't allowing myself to have that release. And when you start walking and you're calling your purpose, whether you're screaming, singing, writing a book, doing a podcast, making some graphics and throwing them on social media, or talking to your coworkers, when you start walking in it, things start to line up. Like
Hmm.
I never weighed more than 115 pounds. I weigh 150 now. I suddenly not sick every 2 weeks. I'm not depressed all the time, and my panic attacks are pretty minimal. Very new stuff. We get asked about playing shows, and I'm like, hold up, we have one song out. Like, let's slow the roll here, you know? But I'm finally getting to a place where I'm not just shooting it down
Yeah.
based out of the fear of fear. Like, I would have panic attacks about having panic attacks in public because I didn't want to embarrass myself, but it was me in my own head. It's still a constant like battle, but I feel like I have a little bit more of a roadmap now on and know how to better take care of myself based on getting more active. And people are like, "Oh, you need to work out." Like, no, you really need to work out. Like, it will change your life. And I'm not like a CrossFit, like, junkie. I'll leave that to my older brothers. They just are little gym rats. That's not me. I hate it. I do not like it. But it's been very healthy for me.
Hmm.
So I don't just want to talk about the song and like the band. There are healthy ways to cope with anxiety and depression. If you're struggling, a lot of times it's like a red flag, like, hey, like flag on the play, something's not right. Go on a 15-minute walk,
Yep.
get out in some fresh air, get some vitamin D. I'm still like white as crap, like Casper all the time, but I'm out in the sun more. I just burn easy, so I wear like SPF 100, if you know what I'm saying. I literally get burnt every time I leave the house. So there are little things that I've heard for years and I've listened for pieces of time, but then I just become inconsistent. Consistency is a blessing.
Absolutely.
It's not like you can't just be consistent. It's practice. Just like singing and screaming, it takes practice. I didn't just wake up and like, oh, I'm gonna go make a song. It didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Being able to perform on a music video didn't just wake up and, oh, here's what I'm gonna do. No, like Caleb Shomo from the band Beartooth did this very vulnerable Instagram live a few months ago, and it really encouraged me, where he was showing people him practicing for festival season in his garage or in his studio, and he's just going to town like he went on stage. If you have a favorite musician or artist and they're really good at performing, they do that. I know I do. I have
Yeah.
to. You have to condition yourself.
Yeah.
So that's very active. And all these things, again, suddenly, you know, things are starting to feel a lot more light and there's a lot more hope and joy. And I haven't felt that way since before my senior year of high school. So it's been, it was a long season of withering and learning and understanding. And there were bits of joy. And um, I'm not going to say like it was the worst time ever. I just haven't felt joy like this since before I started having panic attacks and struggling with that in high school.
Before we get too much farther into this, I just want to tell for those that are watching on Facebook right now, if you want to send us a comment, we will absolutely ask it for Trevor. If you see me keep looking over to the side, it's because I'm reading the comments. We do have quite a few people in here, and Jennifer Walter says she absolutely loves the song, and she 100% thinks that mental and physical health is so crucial nowadays. So,
yeah.
so go ahead and comment on here, and we will read it.
Thank you for sending that in, Jennifer. I'm encouraged, and I've seen her commenting on stuff, so I just want to say thank you. Like, thank you for supporting this. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if people were gonna like it or not.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. After you've gone through all this hell, I don't care. I like it.
Yeah.
If everybody else likes it, that's cool. Like, at the end of the day, everybody's got their opinion. I like it, and I feel like it's been a blessing for me to just be able to put a pen to paper and then put your voice into art. A lot of people don't get started because they're like, oh, I'm not good at it. You don't just get good at it. You have to practice. And as a recovering like perfectionist, like I just like things to be perfect. When you're making music, at some point you have to let it go.
Yeah.
Like I could have kept critiquing every little thing about withering. At some point, you have to let it go. And God bless my the patience of my team on working with me through all the little nitpicky things that nobody would be able to like notice if they were there or not. I'm getting a lot better at it now, and luckily I was able to work with friends that know that like I don't know. Like I'm just like, oh, here's 9 vocal tracks when you're supposed to send like maybe 5 like layers, you know. And I'm just like, hey, I did this today, and I sent them like 6 the other week. Like that's not adequate in studio world. I didn't know. I was just like, hey, the more the merrier, you know.
Right. Right. I got to tell you that, and I know Jeremy, you want to talk, but just give me just one more second. You can tell that I've missed this.
Yeah, no, you're all good.
The impact that this song has had on people, just case in point, our top 15 vote, okay? It's the Rock for Him chat. If people want to go out and vote for the song, every Monday I put it on there. Normally, when we get a new song from a relatively unknown band, like I know I've seen your guys' name out there a lot now, but still relatively new.
Brand new. Like, we're not, I'm not a professional by any means. This
Right.
is our first song. Like, the only other musical experience I've had is in Lacey Sturm's song The Decree. My screams are baked under hers.
Hmm.
So it complements, but you don't notice.
Yeah.
Like, Josh let me, like, he knew I loved screaming and I loved metal, and they allowed me to do that.
Hmm.
That was a huge, like, thing for me, and I don't think I've shared that anywhere.
Well, now you have. I love it.
Yeah, like, that
Dude.
was a huge step of, like, I could, like, and I was recording it at home. Like, I'm not flying all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
And that was years ago, and I still had no clue, but I think I had to go through everything to have the vision and be able to write. Like, I had never written a full song before last year.
Yeah.
It I had to come to the end of myself. And a lot of people get to the end of their self and they feel suicidal, and I want to be empathetic and just loving and kind in how I say this. Everybody's story, everybody's approach is different. For me, it wasn't that I wanted to take my life. It was I was done living the life I was living. In my
Hmm.
mind, at times it's been like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, it's a suicidal thought. I've never had like that impulse to do something like that. A lot
Yeah.
of people do, and they're afraid to talk about it.
Hmm.
I had to come to the end of myself and realize that I was done living the way I was living and acting the way I was acting and not taking care of myself and just trying to stay relevant and feeling like I had to be in front of people or I'm not valuable. I had to come to the end of that road to get this gift.
Hmm.
I consider this whole project just a gift. It's been one of the greatest joys of my life,
Hmm.
being
I,
able to do this.
I'm really hoping that the people that are watching are getting what you're saying and can feel the emotion coming out of you. Like I'm sitting here, I'm like, I could listen to this man talk all day about this. I can feel how much he loves this project and how much this has impacted you. And like I was saying earlier, for a relatively new band, when we get a song submitted to us and we put it on the top 15, it sometimes takes, 3 or 4 weeks before it hits the top 15, because it's all people have to go on and vote. And there's only been really one other band that has submitted music that was relatively new that has hit the top 15 right away, and that was These Beautiful Ruins. Like when their
Wow.
song hit, like it was like right away. So we got your song, I added it to the list, and it was like boom, right away. You guys made the top 15. Like people were just voting. So
That's nuts. Because I had prepared myself day of launch when it was going to come out at midnight on that Thursday early morning. I'd prepared myself for nothing.
yeah,
Like literally nothing. Like, not that I didn't prepare. I literally prepared myself for no traction or nobody caring. I feel like that's a healthy mindset that I want to stay in. Because when you have no expectations, it's so easy to just be blown out of the water. And it's a reflection of joy. Like, hearing that is insane. Like,
If you like what you saw today, hit the subscribe and like button down below, and don't forget to share it to all your friends. Also, leave us a comment down below. If you're gonna rock, rock for him.